All right, welcome into technically the second episode of season 2 or season 3 here on Dropping Dimes. We're doing an Eastern Conference preview today, basically ranking who we think will end up 1 through 15 from the Eastern Conference. I'm your host, Matt Nost, and I'm joined by fellow NBA diehard, Mr. Ed Greer. How are you, buddy?
Hey, man, it's really good to be here, dude. I mean, the Eastern Conference isn't my preferred conference, but I love basketball.
Sadly, I'm a Bulls fan, so Eastern Conference is my conference, and it's been tough for the past 22 years, just because we've gotten our asses handed to us pretty consistently over those past 2 decades.
Well, it's hard. It just goes to show you, maybe like not so much sustained excellence for like 12 years. How about just do like the rest of everybody? Just win a little, lose a little. Don't have so much sustained excellence that it ruins you for 20 years.
Well, the nice thing is this year, at least for the East, it's actually competitive. I think there are 9 teams that are legitimate for the first time in I couldn't tell you the last time. It's been a while, because usually there's 6 and then there's going to be 2 that have a sub-5 record and they're going to sneak in as the 7 and 8 seeds. So that play-in tournament at the end of the season should be pretty good. There's going to be 3 out of those 4 teams I think have a legitimate gripe to be in the playoffs as of right now, at least.
That's going to go down as a legit 2020s invention that's going to last for a while. This play-in tournament, Jazz, it really spices up the bottom. Mm-hmm. It spices up the bottom. It's great.
I do think the NBA should amend it going forward. What they did with the Mavs this past year is, if you have enough of a lead where it's ridiculous that you have to do this play-in game, then you should just manage to leap forward. And number 10 spot, I'm sorry, you don't get to play the play-in game, or do it how they did it last time, where 10 you got to beat 9, and then so on and so forth. But beyond that, like I'm looking forward to it. It'll make it exciting at the end of the year.
Yeah. No, I mean, these games, anything to invest the most games with drama, whether or not you can have fans there and sell popcorn and all that jazz, obviously. But as far as like the fan experience. And it's only good for the league when people like your Bulls think that anything's going to happen for them. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to diss. I'm just saying it's better for the league. It's better for the league when people who maybe it's impossible for them to really do that great have a chance. And I think the Bulls have a better chance than people give them credit for. I'll say that right off the bat.
Well, I overvalue my team every year. So I've done this now every year, and every year we get into these rankings and just like, well, I start talking myself into it. I did it again this year. I have them higher than the average person would have them, just because they're my team, and I like to.
What did you think? What did you think last year? Let's just see your gauge of like how homerism were you?
What, on the preview?
Yeah. Preview for Chicago last year. What was your talking points?
Well, I had them at the I think 11, somewhere like that, out of 15. So not making, but at the same time, like in the mix, better than, several other teams, maybe 10, I think might have been as high as I went.
Okay.
The preseason hype of Boylan, the guys are buying in, this, that, and the other. And it's like, all right, maybe they are this blue collar, workman mentality. And then as the season went along, you could see that, there were numerous times where dissension was obvious amongst the ranks. So, I'm glad that they've parted ways. They've gone with Billy Donovan, and we'll see if Billy is an upgrade. I was hoping for Kenny Atkinson, personally.
Right.
But, Billy's a good coach in his own right, and an upgrade, in my opinion, over Boylan. So we'll see. Yeah.
Well, how do you guys look in preseason?
Good. No, it's hard because there's so few preseason games. So I don't know what exactly you take away from the preseason for any of these teams when you're watching it.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, because certain guys aren't even playing at all. A la like the Celtics. Kemba Walker didn't play in their last game. Neither did Tristan Thompson. So does that mean Theus is going to get the starter minutes? I assume so. But technically, Tristan would be the upgrade at that position. I don't know by how much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's tough to make any heads or tails of what's going on right now.
Well, I'll say this: they're the best of the bad teams. I know we're going to get into our rankings, But of the teams that I consider bad in the East, as in they're not going to win, you can play the whole season, develop your players, but it's really not going to happen. Of those teams, they have, to me, the best potential to break out, just simply because this is a year of like freedom for them. I don't think Billy Donovan coming in is some kind of he's cracking the whip. I think they had the whip cracked last year, didn't respond well to it, and now they're going to have somebody who's just like, hey, buddy, what do you like to do, man? And somebody who really wants to talk to them and get them into a motion offense and get the most out of the fact that you guys got like 8'6", 8 dudes that can just run around. You know what I mean? Like get the most out of that.
If they can all stay healthy, we'll get into it in a minute. So let's go from worst to first.
Okay.
I think there's 2, 3, 4 teams roughly that are interchangeable. 3 teams really at the very bottom. So who do you have at 15?
It's the Knicks or the Cavs for me. And it's the Knicks or the Cavs for me. And it flip-flops depending. And the only interesting take I have on those losers, frankly, is if Obi Toppin plays a whole bunch and scores a lot, I think the Knicks will be 15th rather than 14th because I think he'll be empty stats on an empty team, and it'll be great. It'll be great for him, but it won't contribute to winning basketball on any level, and I think they'll lose and be 15th.
Now, what if he is genuinely Amari 2.0, so you still have RJ doing what RJ does, and Robinson is patrolling the paint, and Obi just like, dude, float around at the 4, get the putbacks, do all the Amari type things. It could be a world in which he gets those points, and they end up at 14th. I don't really see them leapfrogging. I have them at 14, and they have at 15.
Right. I tell you what, if they subtract a guy or two and get if they traded like Knox and somebody. I know New Yorkers maybe are high on Knox still, but how
can they be?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to get New York hate mail because of some guy sucks and they don't think he sucks. Well, I'm just saying, I rode for Kuzma for 3 years. I have no rules. I have no room to talk, even though he did just sign an extension. Anyway, the bottom line is
reasonable extension though.
It's totally reasonable.
3 years, 40. The crazy thing is the player option in the 3rd year. But I think that was. It was totally. He's 6'9". He made $3 million. That you guys won a championship playing in major minutes. Shut up. It's not a big deal. So, what you call it? I think New York, if they subtract a couple guys, you dig what I'm saying? Like if they get rid of a couple of the log jams and just if Obi's gonna cook and they have Mitchell Robinson beating everybody's shit, you know what I mean? Yeah,
that's great.
And the addition of Tibbs as their new coach, will he help them on defense? Has he actually learned what he said? We're going around all the teams and he's willing to update his offense and he's not going to just grind these guys into the ground like he did with the Bulls.
Randall and Knox for one good player who could shoot a little and is smart would be so additive. They would go up so much.
Who wants Randall, Knox especially? Randall still has some value, but Knox to me is I wouldn't.
But that's why I put them together, because the only way you're going to get rid of Knox is if you put him with somebody good, and you have some other team who could be like, all right, we could take him on and waive him. We don't care. We saw that this year. People literally trading for dudes that they waived, trading for like $7 million dudes that they waived, trading for $15 million dudes that they waive. So I don't know the math. I don't know how it all works, but it's done these days. So I'm just saying, get rid of Knox by trading Randall, who can do his whirling dervish act.
I know
somewhere. You know what I mean? And get somebody that's like kind of old and playing crappy because they feel bad because your team sucks or whatever, but he's a good player. Get that guy, import him into the Knicks system, have him bond with the young guys. I mean, we saw it last year. I don't want to keep talking about the Lakers, but man, Rondo was so important to them. Rondo and Dudley were so important to them bonding into a team. I'll talk about a Rondo Dudley type that can actually play a little bit. A Rondo Dudley type that can play a little bit with that Knicks team. They have nobody smart, nobody old, nobody that's actually – they have old guys, but they don't have veterans. You understand what I'm saying? Like some of the guys they had, they didn't have anybody that could teach anybody anything.
I just love the idea that in your world, Dudley can still play. That's nice.
No. I'm saying not. No, I'm not saying he can play. I'm saying both Dudley and, frankly, for most of the season, Rondo couldn't play. but they were good locker room guys.
Yeah, but
and then all of a sudden in the playoffs, all of a sudden Rondo could play.
Yeah, well, that's when, because Rondo. I mean, there was a reason that he was what is national game Rondo? Like he'd only show up for
playoff Rondo.
Yeah, but playoff that's a legitimate thing with Rondo. He only cares when the game has stakes. Whereas Dudley, it's like he signed the contract in the hopes that it gets him a GM job or a coaching job down the line. He's been open about that, which is smart.
Like I said, I'm not saying good. I'm just saying if the Knicks could get a guy that was even a playoff Rondo, but not Rondo himself, but a guy who was playoff Rondo on that team in practice every day, being a smart basketball player, being willing to go, hey, Randall, what are you doing? Like, sincerely, stop. No, you can beat my ass. You're young. Good job. But what's up with the spin move all the time? We got to do this. We got to do that. It's obvious there's nobody there to tell him that. It's not coming from the coaches. It's not coming from other players. So that's all I'm saying. An additive smart player would help them out a lot. That being said, Obi's going to get a lot of stats. I think they're 15th because I think 14th is Cleveland because I like Okoro coming on and being like, y'all don't like to play, even Sexton. Y'all don't really like to play D. Y'all don't really like to hustle. Not like me. You know what I'm saying? I think he's going to come in and say that to these guys.
I just looking at Cleveland, I don't understand. Like they went and got JaVale McGee in the offseason. Why? And it's nothing against JaVale. I mean, he's shown now. The guy's won 3 championships by being just knowing his role in he's no longer the JaVale of the Washington Wizards days. But it's like they got him and Andre Drummond and Kevin Love. I don't like Sexton. I don't like Garland. Not to say that they couldn't round into something. They're still young, but that's back-to-back picks for them that haven't really panned out as of right now. I think 14 and 15 are kind of interchangeable, but I would assume because Drummond's now on an expiring, so if they can find a home for him, they will. And Kevin Love, if they can get him out and get some sort of draft compensation and back. That they would gladly do that. So I don't know that this team is going to be what it's going to, as it's currently constituted after the trade deadline, ending up anywhere near what it looks like right now.
I'm saying my take is they're going to pull a major league. They've had the same dudes there for years. And you're right. They whiffed. They got 2 little ass guards. I don't know. Do they think it's 1988 where you could just have 2 little ass guards and run the league like the Pistons? This ain't that world. Okay.
Well, they need to be able to shoot lights out if they're going to be that little.
Right. So that all that being the case, I still maintain though, Sexton can play defense for his position. Garland can score for his position. They work that out, trade one of them, get rid of that addition by subtraction style, or keep it as is and just run around and be a crummy, super crummy version of like those little guards in Portland and stuff. I'm talking about crummy version of that. And just continuity wise, I just think they have more good basketball players on that team than the Knicks do. And I just think through sheer continuity and sheer trying over and over again, they're better than the Knicks. So that's why they're 14th to me.
But we're also talking about 2 teams that are going to be so under 500 that it's utterly irrelevant. So why don't we move on? Who do you have at 13?
Either Charlotte or your boys, honestly. No, actually, this is my thing. I really think the Pistons. I think the Pistons are there because they're going to surprise some people with some wins in the year.
Okay,
but they're bad. I don't like that. I don't like how they're starting. I don't like that.
I put Pistons at 11. Just the addition of Jeremy Grant.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Can you get, if you can get of the 72 games, if you can get 60-ish from Blake, Derrick Rose knows exactly what he is at this point in his career. Killian Hayes looks pretty legit. I think they have a good identity amongst those guys. Now, whether or not Derrick Rose is still on this team after the trade deadline is an interesting question.
See, too much of that's why. I think of the teams, think about it. They have the most tradable players, meaning just Rose more or less. But in this squad of guys from 15 to 11, I think they have the most tradable players, except maybe the Bulls. I'm kind of tipping my head about where I have the Bulls. But, from 15 to 11, the person with the most tradable players, maybe besides Charlotte, is those guys.
Yeah, if they keep that team together, the East is so devoid of the super talent that the West has, like all these collections of teams, although it's starting to even out a little bit now with a flood of talent coming to the East over the past, season or two. But I think just combination of Blake, they also got Plumlee. It's a solid pickup for them to play a little five and also help spread the floor, gives a nice intensity. If they keep this team as is, I think 11th. But once again, say 11 through 15 is kind of irrelevant because you want 10 because 10 at least gives you a shot of making the playoffs. So
exactly.
I'm not saying they're leaps and bounds better, like I have them for sure making the playoffs, but I think that they're better than other teams that I have greater question marks with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So that's technically your 13.
More or less. Yeah. 13.
Okay. So what are you going at 12?
I mean, if I were going to be a real jerk about it, I would say somebody like Indiana, because I honestly, man, I don't get it. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I don't get it. And I think the internal strife from Oladipo walking around telling people he wants to play with other teams, that's not just the Inquirer. That happened.
Yeah.
And I just don't. And Oladipo he's getting almost as fast as he used to be, but I don't see the feel there. I just think that they could tumble super hard. And I'm not saying they could, but I'm saying if I was going to be a jerk, I could say that. I think conventional wisdom would say somebody like the Hornets, but I personally think the Hornets, I think that they have an odd chemistry. They have an odd chemistry and a surprising number of actual NBA players. I would put them higher than that. I put them at maybe like 11.
Okay, so at 12, you are saying who?
I'm saying either the Magic or your Bulls.
That's you gotta pick one. Who do you want?
I'd say the Magic because I don't believe in them. I don't believe that their continuity means anything.
Okay.
And I think their players don't fit right, and I think they're going to not have Isaac for either the whole year or most of the year. I don't see how that really works. Fultz is getting better, but their chemistry is bad. The way they play is weird. Like it's here you do something, here you do something. I don't see the chemistry.
And by the way, I skipped over 13, but I'm fine with going to 12. We go back to 13. 12, I've got the Magic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they've consistently squeezed into that 8th spot, and then they managed to get a game off of the number 1 seed the past couple of years, and they're not just a rollover, but I mean, looking at it, what exactly did you do in the offseason? DJ Augustin left. I think Aaron Gordon is going to be gone off of this team.
That's another reason.
Fultz and Vucevic to do something. They, how many years have they been in the lottery, and what do they have to show for it? I mean, Mo Bamba is a bust at this point.
Hey, he was a platinum song,
dude. Evan Fournier, like we're going to rely on him again. I don't know. I do this every year, and then the Magic manage to sneak in, but I look at their roster, I look at the moves they made, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if Steve Clifford can actually do something with this again. They need to trade Gordon and just tank hard.
Yeah. In the words of Jay-Z, we don't believe you. You need more people.
Yeah. I mean, I give him, out of respect, I put him at 12 just because they've so consistently made the playoffs every year. So I don't want to just completely slander them, but I mean, looking at it and going through their off season, just like, I don't know how this team didn't move backwards as opposed to the trajectory going forward. So we both have Orlando at 12. I skipped over 13 because I can't count.
I don't think it matters. I honestly, I think I might have, depending on how things shake out, I think the Hornets are still going to be around 12 or 13. So you can just throw them in there.
Okay.
I just think they have NBA athletes, but they still don't really have people. They have NBA athletes. They don't have that many people who know how to play basketball. And I think Gordon Hayward is already proving that little knick-knack stuffs in the regular season when he's supposed to be bonding with his players, he's going to have a little wrist thing or turn an ankle or do this or that and miss a lot of time with the guys. And those guys are going to bond as basically losers, just running and gunning with each other. And I could see that coalescing into him playing with these young guys and getting in the spirit and stuff, and then ripping off a series of games at the end that make it seem like they're going to be 12th, 11th, 10th but I don't think it happens. So that's kind of the area I have Charlotte in, and the reasoning why.
I have them at 13 just because Gordon Hayward can't stay healthy at this point. He seems to be just snake bitten. So the only upgrade you made was A, getting rid of Batum, and B, LaMelo. So does LaMelo translate into just a huge difference in wins? Not right now. Maybe in a season or two, but not right now. So if Hayward stays healthy, then I'll be eating crow on this. But sadly, I don't see it.
Well, even if he does stay healthy, they do have, I think, little chemistry issues. But I watched some of their games, and actually they seem to know how to play a bunch of guys. I understand it's preseason. But even last year, just the way that they use Bridges and the way that they use PJ Washington, and just like those dudes are real NBA athletes. And if those dudes really learn how to play, or at least learn to play off each other, that's going to be some amazing stuff down the line. But they have a bunch of guards. It's clunky. It's a little clunky in their backcourt. But once they get that ironed out, I think they'll be pretty decent.
Well, in the part of Terry Rozier's motivation for leaving Boston was because he was losing minutes to Gordon Hayward, and he didn't like it. So now Gordon Hayward is the number one paid guy on your team. And you're right back into this weird guard quagmire with Devontae Graham and now LaMelo Ball. And Rozier, if they're all healthy, you're on the second unit again.
Yep. That's the mix.
Yes. So it's just like, oh, great. Now they're gonna have all kinds of problems between them. And they trade Scary Terry for somebody, or even, God forbid, because I like the Graham kid. So they trade one of them for somebody who's like hey man, I ain't trying to take nobody's minutes. I'm just here to play defense and be a good basketball player. Trade him for somebody like that. And then you iron that out. 70s, caricature from movies. Say, Jack.
Yes, Sonny Jim. Hey, Sonny Jim. Hey, blood. So
yeah. Somebody would take Terry Rozier. I wouldn't want him personally.
I wouldn't either.
But I think if he's willing to accept his role, I think on the right team, he could be, a value added kind of asset.
I mean, think about Terry Rozier on, like, I don't want to say the Pistons because I like Killian Hayes, but a team like them who's just like, if they didn't have Killian Hayes, what would prevent them from turning the keys over to somebody like Scary Terry? Really, what would, So if he finds a home like that, I'm sure he'll be fine. And they would probably trade him for like some veteran, maybe not Derrick Rose's level, but some veteran is going to come back to Charlotte for Scary Terry or Graham or that logjam. So.
Yeah, I would keep Graham at all costs and try and find a home for Terry Rozier.
Yep.
All right. Well, I already told you that I've got the Pistons at 11. So who do you have at 11?
I got your boys, the Bulls.
Okay. I got them at 10.
And I just think it's one of those things where I just want to see Wendell Carter play the whole time. Any of your guys play the whole time. I want somebody to decide that Kobe White is the dude or whatever, because they shipped off Dunn. They got rid of that whole situation. They got rid of any competition. Yep. I don't know what's going on with Dizzo Valentine. Did he get cut? Is he going to stay? Did they extend? Okay, so like getting him on the court for a little longer. From what I've seen, he's all right, but I never see him because he seems to be hurt. Him or Otto Porter seem to always be hurt. And
him, Otto Porter, Wendell Carter Jr.'s had health issues,
and Wendell,
Lauri Markkanen took a step back last year because of Boylan's system. Mm-hmm. There's just so much young talent that this is why I overvalue. It's like Kobe White is legit. If we can find a trade partner for Zach LaVine, just because I think he would be better served being on a team that has an actual championship shot right now, because he's a little more advanced than we are, and he's not exactly on the same timeline. He's a couple years older, but then just to give more shots to Markkanen and Kobe White, and then figure out if Patrick Williams can fit in. But apparently he's really good friends with Kobe White, and they're already, the team's already gelling with him. And there's a lot of young on this team, and whether or not that finally translates into some winning. I've been trying to buy in for the past 2-3 years.
Well, this is what I'll say. Though in the draft, I remember us talking up Patrick Williams a little bit, and then your boys took Patrick Williams. And I'm telling you, there was a method to their madness. They see him as a 3. Number one, sure. I don't think they see him as a 4. They see him as a 3, and they see him as, hey, Denzel can't play. Otto can't play. This guy can't play. If this guy's gonna play, he's gonna play all the time. And then I think not maybe starting out, but I'm just saying once he gets up to speed, his best ability will be availability and quickness and switchiness. And they're going to deal with his offense as it comes because I think they're going to iron out, like you said, their offensive priority list and have Kobe be like, what? I don't understand why Kobe White isn't like, I don't want to talk about the Lakers again, but Taylor Horton Tucker ain't that much better than Kobe White. Kobe White.
He's not better than. How dare you?
I'm talking about as far as media attention. They're acting like
the Lakers.
I understand this. I'm saying though, at least the mighty, intelligent Lakers let the kid do his thing. You guys don't even let your kids do their freaking thing. Well, marketing, and a case in point, but also Kobe White. Kobe White should have been given the ball. Zach LaVine should have been in the corner or racing to get a dunk all the time while Kobe cooks. That dude is good, but he's empty calories. He's empty.
He is
Kobe White should be making Zach LaVine's life easier, not having LaVine do all this creation in front of everybody.
A rookie trying to find, where he is in the pecking order when you already have an established guy in LaVine and Markkanen who was anointed as basically the face of the franchise. And then Boylan, took away half his shots, saying, well, if you want to recoup those shots, you need to get more rebounds. Just like, okay, well, I'd have to get an absurd number of rebounds to make up for the lack of shots. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, dude, it's hard to change somebody's role. You're right. So all I'm saying is some of these guys just let them do what they came to do, which is why I have them this high, is that, Donovan, I think, is a player's coach. And when Markkanen says, look, man, I like to come off this type of curl, man. I don't know why I don't get to do that. He's going to be like, okay, but you got to hit that. And he's going to trust him. And I think we're going to see some good results as long as you guys are healthy.
Yeah, I think health is the biggest concern because if we say healthy, then we got Wendell and Markkanen in our 4-5 spots. Maybe Patrick ends up being our consistent 3, but then Kobe and Zach, it's like that's a potent young core there. Can they win a championship? No, but they could contend with anybody night in, night out.
They could be damn interesting. Yeah.
So I put them at 10 of like, maybe you'll get into that final play-in tournament spot. You have the talent to do it. Let's just see if health works in our favor. That was your 11. So then who do you got at 10?
I think I might go ahead and put like Indiana here, dude. Okay. I really think I might. Yep. I think I'm going to, actually. I'm going to put Indiana there.
I put them at 7 out of respect.
And I think that's why I'm not. Because it's just respect. It's just this so-called institutional knowledge. It's respect for my man Domantas Sabonis. It's expecting for him and Miles Turner to finally play well together on some level. It's expecting T.J. Warren to just destroy the universe like Galactus, like he did in the bubble.
That ain't gonna happen either.
You know what I'm saying? So like if in order for them to get to 7, all those things I just said would have to happen. For real, in order for them to get to 7, all the things I just said would have to happen for them. And I just don't see it.
Okay, if Oladipo is back, say he's like 90% of where he was, and you couple that with Brogdon, who I didn't think Brogdon would be that good when you asked him to take up that much of the offensive load, and he is legitimately good. If Sabonis is back and healthy, and that guy is a great passer, like he gives such a fluidity to their offense overall. Miles Turner is now extended in shooting threes and doing it at a decent enough clip. TJ Warren, we don't need you to go off for 50, but if you can consistently get us 18, that makes us incredibly, potent. And then Doug McDermott coming off the bench and whatever else in the world they're going to do. But I just think they have a bunch of guys who know basically what their roles are and are established within those roles. And they don't necessarily need Oladipo to be consistent like they were last year because they didn't need him last year to be, what they ended up being. So that's why I got them at 7. It's just like, they've done it now. I believe in their consistency more than I do the Magic, and hence the Magic being lower.
No, I totally respect that, and I almost expect that to happen. But some part of me is just bucking against that so hard because I just don't. There comes a time when your continuity doesn't matter, when how long you guys have been together and all the kumbaya doesn't matter. Sometimes you just don't fit and it sucks.
And they have a new coach who doesn't have any head coaching experience,
Mm-hmm.
So they let McMillan go and they took another Nate Bjorkgren. He was an assistant in Phoenix and an assistant in Toronto.
Hey, watch him win the championship, and then that rolled eye I just did will be very gifable.
Yeah,
I just whatever.
Maybe I don't know. That's the other where I almost took him out because it's like, man, new coach on top of the uncertainty of Oladipo and everything else in the East. Actually, the top end of the East getting better.
Well, maybe that's what I'm feeding into. So we'll see why with the next couple picks. So who you got at? Where are we at?
That was your 10?
Yeah.
And that was my 7. So we'll just keep moving up. Who do you got at 9?
I think I'm gonna go Wizards. Okay. I think I'm gonna go Wizards. Yeah.
I flopped around with the Wizards. I had them. I ended up ultimately putting them at 6.
The Wizards at 6? Hey, you're more bullish on them than me, but I feel where you're coming from. That's why I have them at 9, because there's people who are like counting them out. There's people who are saying that he can do the Oklahoma City thing. I think their roster's a little bit too lumpy for all that, but that same roster I just maligned is really awesome at shooting. Yes. And they're awesome at being in these different spaces. So I personally could take them from 9 to 7. But we're on the same track.
I had them at 7 and the Pacers at 6, but it just looking at that going, look, Westbrook dragged worse teams to the playoffs in the West. Now, granted, that was 3-4 years ago when he didn't have Paul George and before he got traded to Houston.
So to me, it's more about to me, just to be clear, it's just more about their supporting cast, and I like all of them. Even yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong, but he's got shooting around him, and Bertans and Denny Avdija, the Israeli player who looks pretty legit so far.
And Bradley freaking Beal. I mean, I don't think he's ever had, and yes, I do include MVP Paul George in this. Man, Bradley Beal, for practical basketball purposes of scoring, is better than Paul George.
Yes.
And so like him being with somebody like that and all these tall ass shooters, Mo Wagner gets no love, but Mo Wagner is a good basketball player. I know people hate it. He's 7 foot tall and German. I get it. But that dude has like a behind the back dribble thing he does. Isaac Bonga, also 6'8" and German. They got traded from the Lakers
Bryant
together.
Looks pretty legit.
And Thomas Bryant. Let's talk about Thomas Bryant for 1 second. Thomas Bryant has a top of the key 3 that is akin to when Brook Lopez first started shooting them. I remember when I'm an old man, so I remember when Brook Lopez used to be on the block all day, every day.
Bang.
And they started drifting out and started shooting those vector threes towards the edges and then shooting that top of the key 3, and it just opened up galaxy brain, everything. Thomas Bryant's doing that at like 21. This is sick. Thomas Bryant is a good player, dude.
And then Hachimura, they'll shift him over to the 4, and he didn't look good in the bubble, but at the same time, their team went from a very specific identity to suddenly he is the entire focus of the offense, and that's it's not what he is there to do. Defense is going to be their problem.
Yeah.
So they could slip out of that 6 because they can't stop a soul, and they end up at 10, and they're just struggling to get in that play-in game. But
I think it's Russ. I love Russ, but Russ is more durable than some superstars, but he isn't super all the time durable. There are little knickknacks that sometimes he can get. And I think this year, given just certain factors, I just think he's going to miss a few games of some weird stuff. And I think that will impact them greatly. And I just think, but like 9 to 6, or excuse me, in my mind, 9 to 7, 6, it's negligible. I'm with you, man. I'm down with Russ and shooters. That's all I gotta say about
it. But I could, I try and also do as best I can, not just go, oh, this is who the experts are all loving, because I think every 538 has the Wizards maybe in the 10 spot or the 11 spot. And I
see that's wrong. I don't
I don't understand. It's just like, how is this not a massive upgrade given the East? There's only really 9 teams to compete with, and you're telling me that the Wizards aren't in that 9-team mix. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
All right. So then who do you have as your first official playoff team?
I thought long and hard about this. I think the Raptors could be anywhere between 4 and 8. Honestly, depending on what happens and depending on health, depending on how many people decide to pick on how little their backcourt is now. You know what I'm saying? I think if anybody that can really pick on how little they are can push them down as low as 8. But in real reality, I think that 8th team is the Atlanta Hawks. And I think just because it's so hard to learn how to win, I think people overestimate how, like, we got all this talent, it's just going to gel. They're more talented than I think the 7th or 6th team to me. But I think it could end up being that at the 8th spot, the Atlanta Hawks are there and they make things a little difficult for the first seed. They just barely make it in, but they start passing their exams and start doing good. That's how I see the Atlanta Hawks.
I've got Atlanta at 8. They've got a log jam at the 2-3-4, but the 2-3, I don't know. Like, I understand why you had to give Gallo his contract because you didn't have Bogdanovich yet because it looked like he was going to, sign with Milwaukee. And when that fell apart, if you can get Bogdanovich, you get Bogdanovich. But now you're paying Gallo $20 million to potentially come off the bench. How is Cam Reddish going to take this? What happens to Herter's minutes? He was coming around. I really liked him a lot. You still have to find minutes, for Collins. Chris Dunn is an interesting pickup. And DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Danilo Gallinari. You got a lot of guys that need to defeat at those, at those spots. And if you're going to play Collins at the 4 to make sure that he gets the time and Capella at the 5, that's just squeezing away more minutes from one of those other guys.
I mean, this is what I honestly think that it's a situation where you have to sell them on platooning and tell them that. And honestly, I'll go so far as to say I think they could be a 7th or 6th seed if this was 2K reality and you had some smart 14-year-old that just knew how to manage everybody's minutes down to the T and just did just like hockey substitutions and just kept everybody fresh. If that really could work in reality, which it doesn't, because people need rhythm.
You got egos and you got contracts to worry
exactly. Because I could envision a world where I understand they're paying so much for Bogdanovich, but like Bogdanovich is your 2, and I think he and Cam Reddish are a dyad, and Chris Dunn and your boy Trae Young are a dyad. They're the 2 right there. And then DeAndre Hunter has to start. This nonsense, DeAndre Hunter has to start, and his twin off the bench, I don't really care. But the bottom line is Gallo doesn't start. It is Collins, and Capella has to play.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
But I just saying that could be Galaxy Brain in that who really has a true big-ass Lou Williams killer off the bench. Like somebody you can literally just throw it to and say, scorch this guy. And I think Danilo against second units chiefly is deadly, especially at the 4. If you just let him run wild at the 4, him and Rondo just running wild at the 4 and him constantly setting each other up and propping each other up and giving each other this, we're the veteran dudes off the team. Marketing can work on their nickname. But the 2 guys off the bench that are so great, squad with Herter busting threes all over the place and whoever else is their small forwards and stuff. I just think that could work, but they got to sell it. They're going to have to sell that hard.
And I don't, if you go look at you go to their website, the picture of the 5 Hawks that you see is Trae Young, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan, and Danilo Gallinari. So it's just like, oh shit. Now whose feelings are supremely hurt by this? I'm sure there's more than one guy right now. But Rondo coming in to kind of tutor and mentor those guys, I think it was an excellent pickup. The fact that he took less money to go there,
but for more years, and watch them give him some great opportunity after next year. His knee starts hurting a little bit more, missing a few more games, starts sitting next to the coaches a little more, and then next thing you know, he's an assistant and he's going to be in real continuity and build with them.
He'll be a terrible coach, though.
You never know. It takes all kinds. So you have Yeah.
It's he has one of the best basketball minds that you can watch in real time, but I think his patience is so limited. Like, look how he interacted with Boogie in a short time in Sacramento. What happens when you have another Boogie, which a
You're
petulant,
going
massive
to.
star? Yeah, that shit happens. So you're not going to be able to Steve Kerr this. You're just not. You don't have the DNA to just kind of roll with the punches. I hope I'm wrong because his basketball mind, the best is a clip when he's playing with Boogie and he's telling Boogie flat out, it's an out of bounds at the end of the game. I don't know if you've ever seen the clip. And he's telling Boogie, motioning, go stand in the corner where nobody is because I know what play they're drawing up. And that's Boogie at first is like, fuck you. And then eventually goes and stands in the corner because Toronto just so mercilessly yells at him. And the play is drawn up to where that's exactly, they're running screen after screen to get an open shooter in the corner. And it broke up the play. They won the game. It's just like, yeah, the guy knows it backwards and forwards. It's just, man, he's got a hell of a, attitude problem. But
I have nothing to add to that because it's all true. I just think there are people with terrible attitude problems that have become great successes in this world and in this game. Is all I gotta say.
Yeah, the coach though, it's rarer. At least off the top of my head. All right, so 7, I had the Pacers. Who do you have at 7?
I don't know, man. I mean, I've seen lists where Miami Heat is there, and I just laugh. I've seen lists where the Indiana Pacers are there, and I just laugh. I think realistically, this is the first spot where I could see Toronto actually ending up in real reality.
Okay, I have Toronto at 9, so let the Toronto hate begin. But
woo! All right, you got to defend that take because we talk about you just big upped Indiana's continuity. I need you to defend that take on Toronto's beautiful, magnificent continuity.
They lose Gasol and Ibaka, and their acquisition pickups to replace them are Aaron Baines and Alex Lynn. That's a big fucking red flag. Aaron Baines is good, but you're not getting starter minutes out of Aaron Baines. And Alex Lynn is a body you throw in there to get you 8 minutes. So between the two of them, Aaron Baines is effective at 14 to 8. Basically, he's JaVale. If you're asking someone like that.
But JaVale can't bust threes.
True, but I'm just saying he's supremely effective at 20 minutes. If you're asking him to play 32, you got a serious problem. And Aaron Baines is going to, otherwise they're going to do like Boucher somehow in their small ball, at the 5 or something like that. And the thing is, Nick Nurse is such a good coach that I'm going to be eating crow on this, but they have no real offseason acquisitions outside of those two guys that I saw. Maybe I missed something on the roster or, following along. I understand why you have to pay Van Vliet big money, but I wouldn't want to pay Van Vliet 80 or 85 million over 4 years.
Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. I wouldn't have done it. And I think it would be one of those things where I would just, after he left, I'd say, look, Van Vliet played really great, yada, yada, yada. We can't be little like that. I don't, we don't need Drake's twin out here being little in key moments. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, the only reason why I really have Atlanta so low is Trae Young is too little. I don't care how good he is. I don't care how much. Steph Curry can bench press more than your dad. Whoever your dad is, Steph Curry is stronger than your dad. Trae Young is not stronger than your dad. I've seen him. He gets moved around all the time, and he gets punished. So I'm just saying, when you have the smallest guy on your team, has to be stronger than your dad. And this guy isn't, and they get punished. You can have 15 DeAndre Hunters on the court, and you'll still get punished on defense on certain configurations because of Trae Young. And Toronto has opened themselves up to be like that, even though Fred VanVleet is definitely as strong or stronger than your dad.
Yes, but I think you're right with the size. Siakam, I think, is all-star talent level, but he's not an alpha. He's not somebody who's, hey, it's late in the game and we need a bucket right now. Siakam, I don't know, just doesn't have right now, but at the same time, his maturation there's been no equal. He went from G League to barely making a roster to, second fiddle on a championship team to all-star. Like it's an incredible rise. Perhaps this is the year where he becomes true alpha. And over in the chat, people are making fun of the fact that I once again have, I'm not a big fan of what the Raptors have done. It's true. It's 3 years straight where I'm just like, I don't understand. But then Nick Nurse is such a good coach and they all play so well together that I'm probably going to be eating crow. Although I don't feel as bad at 9 because technically that's, basically playoffs because of the play-in game now. So they're not out of the playoffs. But everybody else got better by and large in the East, and you guys got marginally worse.
Yeah. Like I said, to be their 7, who you got at 6?
At 6, I had the Wizards at 6.
Oh, okay. At 6, Wizards. I'll say this take, but like I could see. I think the Celtics to me are an injury. The Celtics are an injury away from being 6. I think they're more like 3, but I think they get some weird injury and they're at 6 easily. Jaylen Brown has a displaced kneecap for 4 weeks. They're at 6, bro. They're at 6. Kemba Walker has a knee thing.
He's got a knee problem. I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just all I'm saying is everybody who has the Celtics way higher than 6. Literally, why are they better than the Heat? There are people who have Boston at 3 and the Heat at 6. That is insane.
I have Boston at 2. I have Boston at 2 and better than the Heat.
Oh well, I can see why you could. I can see why you do that.
Win the Eastern Conference, make the finals. I'm saying after 72 games, they're basically shifting the entire primary focus of the team to 2 22, 23-year-olds. And those guys look like they'll be able to take the mantle of that in a shortened season where there's going to be more 4 and 5s and back-to-backs than there have over the past few years. Although they're going to do you do a back-to-back, but you come to LA and you play the Lakers and then you play the Clippers. So you're playing the same building, stay at the same hotel. It's not, travel on a back-to-back.
Right,
but still,
right.
It's going to be more back-to-backs and all that, which should favor a younger team. Not to say that the Miami Heat aren't younger, and we can get to that later. But yeah, I got them at 2, man. Just because it's a regular season. Kemba's knees are.
I'm going 6 because of that reason. I'm going but this is why. And for Boston fans, this is the reason. I'm going 6. I think the Boston Celtics are the 6th best team as far as the record. And much like Miami last year, Kemba could spend half the year with his knee messed up. Jaylen Brown could get a weird finger contusion. But if they all coalesce at the end, they're going to whoop some ass in the playoffs. I give them that. Very much so. I mean, Tatum is a top probably 5 player in the league right now, dude. He's very good. He's on the come up. So
yeah, top 5 is
maybe I'd say top 10. I'd say top 10. I'd say top 5 offensive player. He's a definitely top 5 offensive player, dude. As far as skills, I don't know if he'll ever score as much as these Kobe's and stuff, but look what he's doing. He's like almost 6'10" now, or he's like 6'9" with shoes.
2 inches.
Oh, get out of here! So basically, he's Danilo Gallinari size, but so much more athletic. So much more athletic, so much better footwork, so much better.
Case for 2. Keep going.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, but I think Jaylen Brown is getting the Scottie Pippen treatment hardcore, and I just think you don't have Jaylen Brown. Tatum doesn't get to do all this stuff.
For sure.
So, and I just think bulky knees and the fact that let's say Kemba is gone for a major section of time, and it's Tatum's team. Have fun with those Big Macs. You know I have. I'm just saying I don't know how much nutrition you're going to get as far as all of these wins. I think if Kemba can't play and keep the offense organized, I love the fact that they subtracted Hayward. I think they're better than last year. But I just think how it's going to shake out is different as we're going to see in these coming picks.
As good a playmaker as he was, the constant juggling of is he healthy, is he not? How many minutes is he going to play? We need to get him back into feel for the game.
And Brad Stevens trying to get the rose from this dude on The Bachelor by like catering to him so much. You know what I'm saying? Like he comes off of an injury and he's getting 30 minutes a game and the ball's in his hands a whole bunch. It's like, Stevens, what are you doing?
Because he's an all-star from the West, you know what I mean? Which means a little bit more when you're fighting all those other guards. That's why every year it's like, oh, I can't believe Mike Conley's never been an all-star. It's just like, yeah, but did you look at the West during his prime? It's a murderer's row. And the fact that Gordon got in there, as a 2-3 kind of player, it's like so if you can get him back into playing shape, they'll miss that playmaking. But I think the addition of Tristan Thompson to really shore up their center, that was their biggest problem last year. Was Tice is good, but you're asking a lot of the second unit guys to come in and try and fill. All right, so that's your 6, my 2. Who do you have at 5?
Now I'm looking at the top teams. I'm looking at a list of the top teams, and I've really tried to see what I really think. Because I gotta say, I guess I'm gonna say Sixers just because, and I like the Sixers. I think the Sixers are better than this. But I think if we're talking about 5 or 4, I think that's where they could slide in because a little Embiid injury here, a little tete-a-tete here, a little bit of trade stuff lingering over them for the year, stuff like that. I think if there wasn't trade crap over them and nobody got hurt, that team can be a number 3 or number 2 to me. I think they can go back to back when they overachieved as youngsters. But I just think in real life, they're 5. In real life, they're 5.
It's precisely where I have them. It's, if you get a full season out of Embiid, this is a different story. But their depth is actually, it's lacking. Seth Curry's never really been asked to start an entire season. So it'll be interesting to see if he can manage to do that. But that being said, you still have Embiid, Simmons. I like the Danny Green pickup because Horford just didn't work. So to trade, those 2 guys is interesting. Shake Milton could be a nice little addition for them. And Doc instead of Doc is the new coach because they need a new voice. Brett Brown, God bless him, suffered through the worst of the worst, but they need, new motivation, somebody in there that can hold their hand and get them to the next kind of level. Doc could very well be that individual. So, yeah, I think you're right on the money at 5.
Yep.
All right, what do you got at 4?
Dude, you go first. I think I'm missing a team too because I got like 2 or 3 teams left. We got like 4 picks, so I must have mixed up and gotten. It made Indiana slip through the cracks and beat the 4th seed or something. I don't know.
I got Brooklyn Nets at 4.
I mean, I have that penciled in at 4, but my case for them being more like 2 is that I watched them in the preseason, and I understand the preseason doesn't mean anything. It means less than an NBA 2K game, okay? I understand. Durant was hooping his ass off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this
contact.
Dude. I mean, he looks like the best Achilles comeback player since Wes Matthews. And, of course, I mean by that, Wes Matthews came back from an Achilles and was a good, decent shooting, defending player. This dude's coming back from an Achilles and being Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying? Like, and them almost exclusively playing them at 4 and 5. Mwah. That's chef's kiss. You know what? I can't put them at 4 for that reason. I'm sorry. I think a lot of the regular season, they're not even going to play defense and they're going to be smoking fools. So I can't put them at 4 for that reason. I can't. I can't. So who do we have? Miami Heat. I'm putting Miami Heat at 4. Because I think Miami Heat, this Crowder loss, I hate Crowder, okay? I think Crowder is a trade chip all over the world for a lot of reasons. But he's also good. He's also good, and he fit their system so well, and he defended the other team's best player a lot of times, and he shot an insane amount of threes. He shot a really good percentage when it counted for the most part. And that loss is significant, and then the thought of the tall guy that shoots on their team, Myers Leonard. The thought of Myers Leonard getting some of Homeboy's minutes gives me douche chills. That is not the same thing. It's not the same anything. Or Olynyk. I don't think they can replace what he has. Is what I'm saying.
Well, they would hope that Precious Achua or Chue
Yeah. Precious is dope, but he's running and jumping. Yeah, he's running and jumping. You know what I mean? And Crowder was a skilled basketball player who could bust Jays all over the place.
It's going to be tough to find. Their offseason pickups were, re-signing Goran Dragic, Avery Bradley, and I think Mo Harkless. So
and that's it. That's it. Homeboy. You just said it. Dragic. Dragic's injury / trying to monitor minutes to not be injured, and the fact that they've already been like a 4th or 5th seed and just killed everybody. I don't know that they're going to be fighting for that seeding like that.
But I think they get to 3 because the continuity. They're mostly a young team. Tyler Hero's confidence should rightfully go up another level. Kendrick Nunn should be playing a little bit better. Duncan Robinson should be playing a little bit better. And that's 3 core guys for you that are all super, super young. And then couple that with Jimmy's going to be Jimmy, Bam's going to be Bam. They have such a continuity and, the confidence of having just made the finals that I think 3 is perfectly legitimate for them.
I can see that. I totally agree with that. I think that makes up for my missing team that I have. So who do you have at 2?
At 2, I had the Celtics.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so now you're saying 2 is the Nets for you.
I think I might do that because of one major thing. Kyrie's weird. Kyrie's this. Kyrie's that.
He's burning stage in the game.
Those much like Phil Jackson, as Twitter reminded us 500,000 times, like nobody knew that. Anyway, it's about there comes a time when actual basketball genius matters, and a lot of times that time is not necessarily in the playoffs. I've seen a lot of basketball geniuses get their ass beat by tough people in the playoffs. I've seen it happen in football. I've seen it happen in basketball. Sometimes you're a basketball genius and you run into somebody that's not going to deal with your genius and you just beat your ass because they're just a simple thing. That being the case, I'm going to make a case for them ripping off the regular season. The only reason why I'm not putting them 1 is that the Bucks just have such institutional knowledge, and I think they did get better than last year. So I think the regular season means a lot to Giannis. Perhaps it means too much. I would say if the Bucks finish 2nd or 3rd, they'll have a much better shot in the playoffs because it will show that they've actually matured their brains. Now maybe they're thinking like the Lakers thought last year. Why give up any ground if we don't have to? Why not just win every game so that we can at least be the 1st seed and have that little
advantage this year?
Yes.
And there might be fans back in the stands by then.
Right. So all I'm saying is in the regular season, people like the Bucks and in my mind, the Nets and the Celtics as well win because sometimes it's just throw Tatum the ball. Sometimes it's just throw KD the ball. And in the regular season, when you're in a flow, did you see Kevin when he was doing he was just running down and hitting that top of the key 3 off the dribble and they're sort of trotting back, play center. That's nuts. He's running down with his Achilles and everything, probably as fast as your 3-man at 5 and busting a 3 and then getting back and then blocking your power forward shot, getting it out to Kyrie who gets a layup or throws it. And when you look at their depth, people say all this stuff about Karis LeVert is useless off the ball. Spencer Dinwiddie's being wasted. All this jazz.
Be in the 2nd unit.
Exactly.
Spencer Dinwiddie's getting the start, and Nash is already quoted as saying, "We want to turn Karis into Manu 2.0."
Exactly.
I keep it at 4 because, like all new teams, that at least combination of all this new talent, it's going to take a little while to gel. Steve Nash has already quoted it's telling Durant, don't really evaluate yourself until you've played 15 to 20 games because you're just going to beat yourself up comparing to what you used to be. And you can't do that yet. You need to get yourself back into NBA game shape before you can properly assess where you're at in your full recovery. So I think it's all that. He's could be on a minutes restriction early on.
I think that's even better though, because as you so eloquently stated, those bench guys who need to have the rock and need to do this and need reps will have it. And Joe Harris is doing exactly what they paid him all that money to do. People have dissed that contract so much. with this tremendous amount of ball handlers you have on that team, and with that whole ethos of move the ball. If you're not shooting it, you're dribbling it. If you're not shooting it, you're passing it. If you're not doing one of those, you're attacking. That's it. That's what everybody's doing from the center to the point guard. Let's get nuts. Let's go. If you have that real engine of basketball and you have two units that are able to run and do it, I think they'll be able to withstand the regular season. And again, basketball genius in the regular season counts for a lot.
Right now, DeAndre Jordan is going to start for them. I would assume it's going to be a situation where he gets the start, but Jared Allen gets the minutes.
Yeah, it's the politics, baby. And much like the Lakers did last year, they survived. Again, Jordan, let's just put it into perspective. JaVale McGee got traded for a bag of basketballs and a guy that Cleveland wasn't using that we were expected to cut. That's who he got traded for. And he started 70-something games for the world champions. I understand they had other players. I'm just saying that type of player, you take him out of that system, you take him out of that milieu, or you put him into a situation where, his 10 minutes at the top of the game doesn't mean anything. He could be a very valuable player. He could be very valuable. Yeah.
I'm concerned there that DeAndre's getting starts because it was a package deal. If you want to get Durant and Kyrie, that we had to bring DeAndre as well because he's apparently one of the most likable guys in all the NBA. So just, are you going to get undue minutes because of your friendship with these other two guys, or are we going to ask you to sacrifice for the better of all involved here? I don't know, but let's go on to the number one. We both have the Bucks.
Yeah, and just last things last on that. I like Jared Allen against second unit players, and I bet you Steve Nash, despite the politics, likes that as well. DeAndre, I don't think he gets up for second unit guys, and I think him coming off the bench is bad. I think he plays bad. He plays with low energy. You start him and pretend that he's a starter. He's jumping around. He's acting like he's young. He's playing with Kyrie and his buddies, and then he could just sit his ass down and drink Gatorade for 40 straight minutes until the third quarter. You know what I mean? That to me is how they're doing it, and I think it's smart. And again, JaVale McGee won championships. He wasn't going to come off the bench for a washed-up Dwight Howard for most of the year. And when it became winning time, he didn't have the leg to stand on to say, I don't want to do this. In the playoffs, if it's Jared Allen, I guarantee you in the playoffs it's Jared Allen starting. How about that? I guarantee you they're going to run into a matchup in the playoffs and say, sit your ass down. You ain't about to ruin this. You know what I mean? Or
they figurehead, you get to start, but Allen plays 32 minutes, 34 minutes.
I mean, that's going to be the status quo in the regular season. Mark my words.
Probably. Yeah.
And
he's 32, but for a big man, I think he's 32, but for a big man, that's ancient.
Yeah, but on we both have Milwaukee, and I think both of us have intelligent reasoning behind it. I.e., number one, this is the season where Coach Bud realizes that if they don't win, they're not firing him. They're shooting him out of a cannon into a brick wall. You know what I'm saying? No choice
at that point,
right? I mean,
they got Giannis, even though they didn't get Bogdanovich, and Giannis apparently, really wanted him, and they're going to have to sacrifice. I don't know if you saw this, it's a second rounder. I can't remember where it's going to be in the overall for the tampering of, the unofficially we spoke to him before we were allowed to type of thing. So not bad, all things considered. You didn't get the player, but you're just losing a second rounder, so it's not the end of the world. Unlike what potentially could happen to the Clippers, and they could be fucked. We'll find out.
I'm not rooting for that. You know where my fandom lies, but I'm definitely not rooting for that because I want them to be at full strength when they lose again. That's my thing.
If they come down hard, which they could under the letter of the law, the Clippers are fucked. Because they don't have any draft assets. They gave them all up to get Paul George.
Yeah. So, well, I'm not going to say that would serve them right because honestly, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But that is a bad.
Yeah, and he'd been open with the fact that he wanted to play in Los Angeles for years. So it's not like this was, out of left field. But anyway, the Milwaukee Bucks.
But okay, here's the most nuanced and quick Milwaukee take I can have, and it really has to be short because they are the best. There isn't not too many holes. People are over and undervaluing Holiday. I don't think people really understand how they're going to use Holiday, and it makes me mad. I think there's definitely going to be units where Holiday is more like a 2 that is just, hey man, you throw it to me, I'm gonna do something. So if you ain't gonna throw it to me, I'll run around, I'll even screen, I'll do whatever it takes to help you.
Sure.
to do your thing. But if you throw it to me, I'm gonna make something happen. And I think that's going to be a lot of their offenses are going to be beautiful. And I think some of those units will have Giannis at the 4, and they'll just get fast. And I think they'll deal with the fact that maybe you put in little boy Augustine, and you just be little for a minute with Giannis at the 5, and just get nuts and run. And I think those are going to be short times because, as I stated on that podcast where I was made fun of, people have heard Giannis talk now. He talks like that impression I did last time. It's so weird. He sounds like Balky sometimes. But all I'm saying is he gets winded. He's in better shape than I or you will ever be. But he does get winded when he's ripping and running. He will do 3 or 4 rip and runs and then call out. If he gets minutes at the 5, I think there'll be less of that. And I think he'll have some more time to just trot around and just take his time and frankly rest like LeBron did for 5 straight years on defense instead of having to play the 4 all the time. No 5-man is going to outrun him down the court. And he's as buff as any 5-man in this league. If you pick me a 5 that Giannis isn't basically as strong as. Now, he doesn't want to slam into those dudes all game.
Exactly. You don't want to bang with those guys. So you're playing Philly. You don't want to take elbows from Embiid.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think he's a bully to almost everybody else. And I'm saying the regular season is for those situations. In the regular season, you need to figure out, even the Lakers do it with homeboy, they know when to put him against, put Anthony Davis against a 5 that ain't a 5. They know when to do that. Yeah. And I think the only thing the Bucks can do is say, Giannis, you're 8 feet tall. No, we don't want you banging in the post, but we can't have you dribbling 50 feet from the cup, looking at 4 sets of eyes, watching you do stuff, including your own man. That's 5 sets of eyes. You can't create like that. You're not always going to beat 5 guys off the dribble and get to the cup. You can't. This can't be our whole offense, dude. You're not LeBron. So due to the fact that you're not LeBron, let's kind of. How about you slip off? DiVincenzo sets a damn crab block screen for you to slip past your guy who's a 5-man and run and do something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Have guards pick for you. Have weird stuff. Do a floppy, but instead of you running to shoot 3, you get into the lane. Do something that makes it easier for you to get to where you are most effective. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I think the cost of getting Drew Holiday was obscene. In no way do I think he's worth that many first-round picks plus pick swaps. But to prove to Giannis that you're willing to surround him with the types of players that give him a genuine chance of winning a championship. Plus, Middleton just sometimes shrinks from the moment in the playoffs and turns ice cold. So they have somebody else that is more than willing to take a shot and shoots it at a high enough clip to where it's legitimate, I think is huge, because Bledsoe had confidence issues for days in the playoffs. And I think, it's an upgrade on defense as well to Drew Holiday, in Drew Holiday. I kind of like the Bobby Portis pickup. I don't mind it. I like the DJ Augustin. I think it's a great backup pickup. As a starter for Orlando, never bought it. As a backup for Milwaukee, perfect. Outside of that, they didn't really have. I think they got Torrey Craig from Denver. A nice pickup. Not going to be huge.
People like Torrey Craig are athletes, though. You know what I mean? Like, he's not super athletic, but he is. And if you're going to, he's an athlete.
Yeah, and he fits in on practically every team.
Yeah, they had. I mean, look at the people. Pat Connaughton, besides Giannis, was one of the greatest athletes they had on their team last year.
Yeah, but Connaughton's kind of legit.
No, Connaughton's very athletic. I'm not saying I'm not. You understand what I'm not saying. I'm not saying he's Steve Kerr on the hops. He could dunk on people in the NBA, so he's very good. But if that's your second best athlete on your entire team, that's nuts to me. That's nuts. And I think that's not the case anymore. I think Drew Holiday enters that conversation, and other people who the thing is, there's a real difference between him and Bledsoe as far as playoff intensity and as far as willingness to shoot. Maybe not greatness at shooting, but the willingness and the gravity that he has is superior to Bledsoe. You know what I mean? So if they had just got Drew Holiday and that was just it, that'd be fine. But getting a backup point guard and the Portis thing, not to run that into the ground, but Portis is a perfect championship player. But what I mean by that is, don't give him too much responsibility. Give him a role and let him do it. And Bobby Portis will show us beautiful things. Relying on him to be some kind of a guy on anybody is preposterous.
And
but
the nice thing is Portis gives you an edge because he will get teed up for taking cheap shots at people. He will get thrown from games.
Mm-hmm.
He just will. I've, as a Bulls fan, watched him do it, and I watched him do it on the Knicks. But that kind of intensity, it's not bad when it's on your team.
Dude, Giannis has no enforcer. That is such a brilliant call. The fact that Brook Lopez and to a certain extent Robin Lopez had to be enforcers for Giannis last year is laughable. These dudes want to spend more time in Disneyland than on the court, which I don't really blame them. Not right now, but you know what I'm saying? Hey, all I'm saying is like these were his enforcers. Man, Bobby Portis is another level. Drew Holiday is another level. Drew Holiday is not going to have – if some guard continuously is elbowing Giannis on screens, like Giannis is screening them and this guard is giving him the good old Stockton elbow each time, Drew Holiday is going to sort that out. You know what I'm saying? Other people are going to sort that out for Giannis this year. I think that's another reason why I have them number one is that I see more minutes for him at 5. I see them playing quicker. I see them exploring playing Giannis more minutes and not really caring if he's tired. I see certain times where you're playing at 5, work it out, find a way to rest out there. I'll leave you out there.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea. That way he's logging more minutes, which he's going to have to do in the playoffs, so he doesn't feel gassed at all times. But
yep. So that's the entirety of what that was a great breakdown of the Bucks, and yeah, it was the quickest one because they really they have it. Watch
it's
what happens this year.
We've seen him do it now where fourth quarter, Giannis and Middleton don't have to play because they're up by 15. And they did that so consistently over the past 2 years that I don't see why that wouldn't happen again this year. So they should be the odds-on favorite to win the East. As
a way too early finals conversation, who you got? Way too early. You're totally going to be wrong. Who cares? Finals.
If all health
East.
Yeah, I think the Nets. If they're healthy as can be and nobody's out injured and they all know their roles, dude, you have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen. They've got depth. Gary Harris. I like that team a lot. Whether or not health and them gelling together, say that doesn't happen, then it's Bucks or Celtics for me. But now all the Heat people are like, fuck you, and you're right. So I don't really know as of right now.
Well, mine totally with those exact same caveats. I might go Nets, Bucks, or I gotta say it, Bucks, Philly. And the reason is, to me, if in the middle of the season they say we're not trading for Harden, it's literally not happened. The deadline went past. Relax, you're gonna be on the team. Jesus, do the Ubuntu thing, get together, and nobody gets hurt. I really believe in the fact that, like, if you can't find a way to play basketball with your, let's just say this: I saw Zion, who frankly doesn't shoot that much better, or doesn't shoot better than Giannis right now. He shot a few threes in his very first game. People think he could shoot. He shoots okay when he's wide open. He can't shoot, dude. He can't really shoot. But I see them like so far away from him, and he just takes that space and gets in the lane. He's not afraid to be fouled.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he doesn't get fouled because he does a lot of what Ben Simmons does, which is just move the ball around and finish. And watch Zion in these preseason highlights. He's going right towards the cup, and he's moving the ball around like Dr. J sometimes, doing weird stuff, and it's working. He's not getting fouled, but he's still completing the basket, and he's taking up the space, the cushion they give him because they say he can't shoot. To say that Ben Simmons can't do something like that with different people picking for him in smart ways and stuff and him handling the ball is stupid and myopic. All I'm saying is, even if he doesn't get this vaunted, fabled Excalibur jump shot everybody wants him to get, he can, if you back up on him and we're playing right as a team, it should not be brain surgery to get him to take up that space and get to the cup. He is afraid to be fouled. If he's not as afraid to be fouled this year and stays healthy and Joel Embiid stays healthy, I just see them being able to play well enough defensively. Last year, I rooted for a team that everybody said was top heavy on offense, only had 2 good players, and everybody else sucked. But what those guys, all those sucky guys did was play defense and hoist up a bunch of threes, whether they made them or not. And they won the damn chip. Am I wrong?
You guys were always good at defense. It was just a matter of, can you get a bucket from anybody else? Because I don't trust anybody not named Anthony Davis, LeBron James.
Exactly. And I think you got a similar situation. Obviously, Ben Simmons is not LeBron. But as far as getting downhill, getting to the cup, and getting his teammates involved and stuff, he could do all 3 of those things. And they got shooters to do the rest of it. So play right. Don't play stupid. Run the pick and roll for once, for Christ's sake. And you could end up playing the Bucks in the finals.
We'll see. I think their lack of depth is going to be more detrimental to them overall.
Maybe.
But who knows? Who knows? The trade deadline, Daryl Morey, nobody's better maestro at the trade machine than he is. So
their draft was also very good. Tyrese Maxey is getting minutes this year. Your boy Seth Curry is getting a lot of minutes this year, both in the pick and roll as a ball handler and as a spot up shooter and floppy guy. They have more depth than you think, because I think both of their draft picks are hits. I think they picked 2 or 3 people. 2 out of the 3 of those people are going to play well. And Dwight Howard is depth for Embiid. He can do a lot of the tough guy stuff. And his greatest ability these days is availability, which I don't think you could say for even on Embiid's backups weren't available all the time last year. Now you got a pretty solid backup for Embiid when he decides to take a break because he ate a bad burrito last night or whatever. They're better, dude. They're better, and I think in the playoffs we're going to see it.
We shall see. We shall see. Well, I think that is the bow on top of our Eastern Conference preview. Thank you so much for coming on, man. It was good seeing you.
Dude, great seeing you, bro. Always good to talk basketball. See you later, bro.
Well, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Where can people follow you, and what do you want to plug?
I'd like to plug, they can follow me at Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter. I put up a lot of stuff on there, little jokes and jazz. You know what Twitter's for, but I really want to hype up Reboot It. It's a YouTube channel I do with 3 white boys, and we talk movies, and we reboot them as like an improv game with each other, like live. We did a 2-hour episode rebooting the Justice League movie. It's a big topic, the Snyder thing. You know, he made the Justice League. There's people who think that's the greatest thing since sliced bread, people who hate it. We kind of did our own version after having rebooted Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, and Batman and Superman as our own movies in our own image with our own casting and stuff. So we just did it. We did it all over again. And it took like 7 hours to do of content. You know what I mean? And I'm really proud of what we came up with. We did a Justice League movie that I think is the best one of all time, you know, in theory.
Sure.
So yeah, so check it out. Reboot It. It's on YouTube. Just Reboot It. If you want to search for it, Reboot It, Ed Greer. You know, we're climbing up the charts, man, and it's a really good enterprise. And we're kind of taking people to the movies when you can't really go to the movies.
Nice. All right, well, check out Rebooted. Follow him at Ed Greer Destroys, and good seeing you, man. You can follow me anywhere at Matt Nost. I'll come back with a opening night's little recap on Wednesday. I'm going to try and fit it in my schedule. I can't do it at my normal time because I'm recording something else because of the holidays. But look for it early afternoon, like 2-ish. If you want to join me over there, I'll go live roughly around then. Actually, I can't. No, I'll do it at noon on Wednesday. I've got it. Sorry, that show is at 2. I will do it at noon on Wednesday. We'll just do a recap of the previous night and a little preview of Christmas Day's games. And you can follow me anywhere at Matt Knows. That is it for today's Dropping Dimes. Enjoy the NBA season that begins tomorrow evening with 2 stellar games. And thanks to Ed for joining me today. That is it. Until I see you guys again, adios.